we are one of the first and one of the most vocal on GreenOps, and we're building out GreenOps frameworks and training and assessments and things to really be able to help organisations. But it's where do you start? That can be the hardest thing. So that's what we're really keen on, helping organisations, take those first steps.
Welcome to the first series of the Off Menu IT podcast. I am your host, Sean Ashbury, and in this episode we are focused on Synega's ITAM, FINOPS and GREENOPS converged offering, which is one of 9 episodes you can enjoy this season. This episode was recorded on the 25th of October, and some of the proposed announcements may have already been released. This podcast is fully independent and does not accept payments from its guests. The mission is to help the ITAM community make better decisions through their own discovery. Let this maximize your IT budgets and improve your RFP process. In this episode, we have Rich Gibbons, who is head of the ITAM development at Synyega. All right, here we are with Rich Gibbons, the head of ITAM development and aka the notorious BIG of Microsoft licensing. Rich has been in IT and software for the last 20 years, ITAM for 10 of those. Ever present in my ITAM career, I've seen him constantly post an update about Microsoft licensing, and often in the ITAM takeaways that I provide. And he's presented and trained Microsoft and ITAM training and events all over the world. Interestingly as well, a big feature of today, I'm sure, is that he was one of the first people to talk about the relationship between ITAM and FINOPS way back when in 2019. I'm sure we'll dig into that. But I understand there's also another aspect, another part of your introduction, Rich, that some people obviously know very well, but others may not.
So the hip hop side of things, yes, I think more and more people are picking up on the hip hop side. Massive fan of it, and always up for talking. And also, I'm tempted to try and start some kind of 8 Mile style, like ITAM freestyle circuit. So anyone who's up for that, let me know.
Microsoft licensing freestyles, let's do it. Cool. So, Rich, who are Synyega? What do they do? What's the service?
Fantastic question. So I joined Synyega May 2024. I've known them for several years before that. Synyega are a managed services provider across ITAM, FINOPS and GreenOps, so in the kind of cloud sustainability piece as well. Completely independent, so we don't sell software, other people's products, etc. We're kind of very big on, we do what we think is right for our customers. It's been around, I think, about 9 years altogether, driving forward ITAM and FINOPS and GreenOps into that kind of cloud modernization space. We do all the audit defense, ELPs, all the traditional services you'd expect, through to modernizing for cloud, building FINOPS teams for people, sustainability, carbon awareness, etc. So for me, one of the things that attracted me was just real breadth of like next gen services and focuses. So yeah, very exciting.
We'll certainly dive into that later in the pod. I can't wait for you to explain kind of those next gen services that Synyega do provide. But what specifically, I guess, or the history, obviously 10 years ago, you started in ITAM, but before that it was general IT. So what brought you to ITAM?
I mean, I think like pretty much everyone that ever gets asked this question, it was pretty much accidental. So I started off years and years ago as a reseller. For some reason, Microsoft licensing absolutely loved it, so I jumped on it straight away. That was my big thing. And then I expanded out into general software. and you can't really sell software for too long without starting to think about software asset management. Actually, I'm pretty sure this customer has already bought this, and you get into that. So that was kind of then I started thinking about asset management, talking to some of the tool providers and things that were around then, and then so it kind of kicked in from there, and then over the last 8 years in particular, really sort of became the main part of what I've been doing. So it was accidental, but it feels like a really natural fit. And I think then, going into SaaS and cloud and all that, the opportunities and it's a very diverse world. I think a lot of people who aren't in it, they think, oh, it's really boring. It's just counting boxes of licenses. But it's ever changing. It's fast paced. That's really kind of kept me involved in it for sure.
And certainly from a fast paced perspective, I mean, Microsoft are one of the faster changes to products licensing. And I mean, of course, you're one of, I say, probably, several people who within my immediate LinkedIn network that constantly found on the feed, providing that extra value in terms of the knowledge. So yeah, that passion, which you say is kind of, it's grown since you started to get involved in it. So yeah, fair play to you, and appreciate you sharing off the all the gems of knowledge.
It's good to know someone's reading them. That's always good. Yeah, and it's one of those things. Like I say quite a lot that for people in end user organisations who've got what I would call a proper job, for them to do everything that they need to do and keep up to date with Microsoft and Oracle and IBM and SAP and it's literally impossible. So I think, wherever I can, putting that information out there, hopefully it makes people's, jobs that little bit easier. And, and there are other people that do it for Microsoft, but also other people that do it for, the other software vendors. So hopefully together, we're helping to kind of ease that pressure on end users just a little bit.
Brilliant. Well, I'm sure those who are actually working in enterprises are benefiting from it. And so, Rich, what inspired you to apply and join Synyega then?
So with Synyega, they were 2-time winners of the ITAM Review Partner of the Year award. So last year and the year before, and those awards are voted for by customers. It's all based on customer submissions, and then the judges, choose the winner. For someone to have that kind of level of connection with their customers, that was really impressive.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Agreed.
And like I say, I mean, I've known Tony, the founder of Synyega, for quite a few years, and then over the last 12 months, Synyega, they started to add some really great people from different parts of the industry. So all of those things together, it started to kind of add up to you could kind of tell what sort of company it was, and the passion and the focus within. So that was a real big driver for choosing Synyega, and being able to work, still do what I've been doing, that people are familiar with over the years, but also being able to kind of do more with customers in that part of the world. Yeah, fantastic combination.
Yeah. No, but as you mentioned there, in back-to-back peer-reviewed awards, that does tell you to tell. So I saw the whole new senior leadership team at the start of this year, which really, really has just made the business go from strength to strength to strength. So obviously benefiting from the back-to-back awards, but also acting on it and to keep them there and potentially, I'm sure, progress a lot further with additional additional services that they've added, which obviously you're very, very, very much a part of it. So with Synyega then, they are quite unique in terms of what the service that they provide. What makes Synyega unique an offering in the market?
It's a good question. I think the independence is a big part of it. You know, so many of the service providers are also resellers or owned by resellers, or they also do audits for software publishers. We're all very strong on the independent element, and think that it's something that organisations should certainly evaluate. So that's part of it, but then there's a real drive to help bridge the gaps between what you might call traditional ITAM and cloud, FINOPS, GREENOPS. The sustainability side is a real big focus as well. So trying to help organisations not just save money or increase value, but also trying to help people make a difference to the planet, which is perhaps ultimately the most important thing. And that kind of focus, it's throughout pretty much everything that we do. So it's very, very forward looking. And like I say, we talk about convergence. And other organisations and industry bodies talk about convergence, but a lot of people see that as ITAM and FinOps sort of becoming one thing, and you get into does ITAM report into FinOps or vice versa, and where does GreenOps fit in? When we talk about convergence, we see it as, they're all separate, but sometimes they're better together, they're stronger together. And that's what convergence is. And for us, knowing that we're doing this ITAM thing, but actually, if we weave in some FinOps, we can put in some GreenOps, it will make the overall proposition and end result better. Then that's what we do. And I think that is probably quite unique in the market, to be honest.
From an independent perspective, do you think perhaps that does help you to provide that sustainability piece, because it's not about necessarily making sure that you're selling software?
I think so. And I mean, sustainability is a growing focus for everyone. I think, from our perspective, the independence just means that we can do what's best for the customer. So it does give us some real flexibility to be able to offer those kind of solutions.
Correct me if I'm wrong, they're not sure that many of the others promote the GreenOps aspect. Certainly not as much as Synyega.
No, I think we're definitely a big proponent on that. There are some organisations that aren't in the kind of ITAM world, that focus specifically on GreenOps, and we partner with some of them. But in the kind of ITAM FinOps service provider space, I think we are, and obviously everyone will disagree with this potentially, but I think we are one of the first and one of the most vocal on GreenOps, and we're building out GreenOps frameworks and training and assessments and things to really be able to help organisations get to grips with. It's one of those things everyone kind of knows that they should do something about it, but it's where do you start? That can be the hardest thing. So that's what we're really keen on helping organisations take those first steps. So I say it's a big driver for us.
Amazing. As you mentioned, they're all intrinsically linked and better together. So fantastic that you're obviously pushing that. How has Synyega grown in terms of kind of client base and reputation over the last 12 months? Because it has been a significant period of growth.
Yeah, it really has. And I think, a lot of it is, better awareness. Synyega have been offering, these great levels of service for years. but it was very much a kind of word of mouth kind of network. Now with fantastic head of marketing, head of sales, this has just helped make people more aware of Synyega. So that's really enabled us. We've won some fantastic new customers. We've added some great new services. So yeah, I think the people that we've brought in over the last year have helped drive that. And then 2025, where we've got plans, and we'll really kind of kick on. But yeah, it's been fantastic. Coming in, like I say, I've been here 5 months roughly at time of recording, and yeah, seeing the growth and the rapid change and adoption with new clients is really exciting.
Where has that growth typically been in terms of geographical or sector that you see most traction in?
That's a good question, actually. It's currently we're primarily UK and EMEA. And although we do work in North America as well, primarily UK and EMEA. Actually, Synyega have been big in public sector, and we continue to be big in public sector. We've got some great things going on there, but also across the private sector as well. It's really the kind of services that we offer are valuable to any sector, automotive, pharma, whatever it might be. So to be honest, it's pretty broad in terms of customer type and size. We tend to work with kind of larger enterprises, but yeah, really interesting, diverse mix of customer types, which is fantastic. But like I said, we do have that real good strength in public sector as well.
How do you tailor your services to meet the varied requirements across the clients that you have? Do you have any interesting success stories?
Yeah, so I think in terms of catering the service, the main thing is really making sure that you understand the customer and what they're trying to do and why they're trying to do it. Because sometimes different organisations they might be trying to get to the same end goal, but for different reasons, and that will impact which parts you do in what order, or actually, Mrs. Customer, you don't need this bit because that's not relevant, so we'll focus over here. So really putting the effort in to understand the customer is a huge part of that. Working with them as we go through the service, whether it's a project or an ongoing managed service, keeping that close relationship and making sure that if things change within the organisation, that we're able to reflect that in the services as well. And then, yeah, as for kind of big wins, yeah, I mean, I haven't been here that long. I know we've got some great case studies on the website, but I know one of our clients, when we started working with them, they had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of software vendors that they worked with. And then one of the things that we've done with them is work to consolidate that vendor portfolio. Actually, do you need 7 different things in this area? Do you need all of these? So we've managed to reduce the number of vendors that they work with by probably 40%, something like that. Which has got tangible savings in terms of, if you're not buying that software, you can consolidate it elsewhere, better discounts and so on. But also the kind of soft savings of, that's many fewer support renewals, invoices to raise, things to just track. So that's a big focus. And in the FinOps space, we're doing some fantastic work with organisations around assessing FinOps maturity, helping them really get a handle on where they are, what they want to do. Seeing that turn into some quite quick advancements within their FinOps practice.
Mentioned at the start of the pod in terms of better together. Do a lot of your, or the majority, or you're still working on getting the clients to use the ITAM FinOps GreenOps piece, or have you been quite successful in suggesting that it's better together to think about the three as one?
Again, great question. And as with most software answers, it depends. For some organizations, some organizations, it's like, right, this is our immediate thing. We need to fix our cloud spend, or we need to fix our SaaS usage, or whatever it might be. But what we do find is talking to them about that converged message. It means that as they're doing that piece of work, they're looking at it through a slightly different lens, and they're able to kind of think, right, when we've done this is the logical next step to focus on our carbon emissions, or we've got our cloud spend under control now. We've built a FinOps practice, so now let's make sure that our ITAM is to an equal level. Some organisations go straight in, but it's always that thing of you don't want to do too much at once. So it tends to be a staged approach. I think it does offer a slightly different view, rather than just kind of blinkered, we're going to do this ITAM thing and then it's done. Just introducing that concept, it tends to be a positive.
So an education perspective, and of course Synyega are well placed to do that because you have so many experts within each field that are constantly chatting amongst each other to be able to understand the needs of the customers. From a revolutionary perspective, is Synyega kind of revolutionizing the market or the services that the ITAM provider is offering?
I genuinely think we are, and I'm sure everyone that you ask that question to will say yeah. But I think that the team that we've built, Steve, our head of FINOPS and GreenOps, he is absolutely one of the best people in the industry.
Worth a follow, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. Steve, find him on LinkedIn, Stephen Old. Shout out to Steve. The stuff that he's doing, building things, delivering things to customers, FINOPS and GreenOps, he's absolutely, like I say, one of the best out there. And then I think from on my side, with the ITAM, the Microsoft, we work together very closely to kind of weave those two together. I'm learning more about his world, he's learning more about our world, so we can really drive it together. And the GreenOps, that is part of what we do. It's not a kind of afterthought. It is one of our key pillars. There are some things that Synyega have been doing for years, long before I joined, that are still quite modern. There's a big focus around modernisation for the cloud from a licensing perspective. So you've got effective licensing positions, but also looking at future licensing positions. How do we help customers optimize here for where they're going? Synyega have been doing that for years, but that is still quite revolutionary. And I think the company culture, the way that everyone is focused on customers, and again, I'm sure everyone says it, but it really, as a relatively new entrant into the business, it really has been fantastic to see that what's on the website is also internal as well. I think we're doing some really cool stuff. We've got, like I say, plenty of plans for the future as well. I think what we're doing, the way that we do it, and the reasons that we do it, all together are pretty unique.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, from a recruiter perspective, I've been working with Synyega for several years. I always found it difficult to find the right people prior to obviously everyone adopted the cloud, because as you mentioned, they were quite unique and progressive in their service, because they were providing cloud optimization, but ITAM focused on the cloud. And that's obviously transitioned really nicely into where we are now, which of course is massive cloud issues. And yeah, as you say, it does feel, although the stuff they've been doing historically, it still feels pretty fresh from someone from the outside, which is, again, real reason why I wanted you to come on and highlight that, because you've been doing it for years. It's not just following the crowds. You guys are the experts. So yeah, great to make that point.
If you're enjoying listening to this episode, please show your support and take this short break to like and subscribe to this series and beyond. One more thing, if you know someone who could benefit from this episode, share the love and share this episode. Thank you.
So, Rich, I mean, this is something obviously you brought up in 2019 and has since become quite a popular opinion, or rather discussion point, in terms of how does ITAM become FinOps, or how does FinOps become ITAM, or how does ITAM and FinOps merge to become one, to be able to provide a solution. So, I mean, what's your personal take?
Yeah, so as you said, 2019, I did my first conference presentation about it in 2019. So I'd been doing it, for a bit prior. Most people thought that, it was going to be a fad, or it wasn't really going to catch on at that point in the ITAM world. Yeah, I do like to point out that I've been saying it for years. But I genuinely, it made a lot of sense as soon as I saw FinOps. It's very much, you can see the links, you can see how they're related, how they help each other. And I've had lots of conversations about it, but I've always tried to stay away from the idea of, who owns who or who reports into who, because they are similar, but they are fundamentally different as well. There's a bunch of stuff that is ITAM, and there's a bunch of stuff that is FinOps, and then there's the middle bit, classic kind of Venn diagram, the middle bit where they can help each other. So, if you're in an organization and you only have an ITAM team, there are certain sort of elements of FinOps that they should be doing. If you're in an organization that's only got a FinOps team, there are certain elements of ITAM that they should be doing. But if you've got both of them, it should be a case of, you do what you need to do, but then, how do we share data? I've done this, how can it help the FinOps team, or vice versa? It should always be collaborative. And for some organizations, maybe it's a case of kind of, budget concerns. Can we as an organization afford to have an ITAM team and a FinOps team? So maybe that's driven part of that concern, because there's always a lot of questions about who's encroaching into whose territory, etc. But I just think, from an ITAM practitioner's perspective, there's so many things to do, in a day-to-day.
Would it be fair though, Rich? But would it be fair to say that a company that doesn't have the budget for an ITAM or FinOps, but would have, say, a FinOps or an ITAM, typically, I guess, more established as ITAM, if that ITAM person were to seize the opportunity to take on, appreciate its additional responsibilities that aren't necessarily part of their JD, but if they were to take that on, then that's a fantastic opportunity for them to obviously show value and to create that FinOps piece for that business. Is that something that you think is possible?
So absolutely, and there are examples in both directions. There are some ITAM people who they've moved into FinOps. They within their business, they were the head of ITAM. Now they're the head of ITAM and FinOps. There are some organisations that are bringing them together, and on the other side, there are more and more FinOps practitioners.
Mm-hmm.
So particularly, it seems to be more in the US. There are quite a lot of organisations that have FinOps teams, but not ITAM teams. And there are more and more FinOps practitioners that are kind of going, right, I'm doing all this wonderful work, but there's a chunk missing. I'm trying to drive value, but I've only got half the numbers, kind of thing. So they're starting to learn more about ITAM, asking questions. I've had calls with a few recently. And I think that's wonderful to see. You've got the two sides and they're both moving together. And having that middle ground where, some people do both, but also, individuals from each discipline are able to collaborate, come together, share information. With conferences, there are more ITAM people starting to attend FINOPS conferences and meetups and vice versa. So I think, the ideal in my world, or in my view, is that there's a common ground in the middle where everyone understands how they can help each other. But like I said, there will always be ITAM activities that FINOPS practitioners don't want to get involved in. And there will always be...
they need, I guess.
Yeah, but I think even when they do, they're so far out of the kind of usual skill set that you kind of think, well, I'll leave that for someone else. And vice versa in the world of FinOps. If you're talking about bringing on licensing, SaaS management, these kind of things, perfect convergence, collaboration. But when you get into things like infrastructure as code or optimizing programming languages for cloud use, very few ITAM practitioners are going to feel comfortable in that part of the world. So there's a real, it's like a real spectrum, ITAM at one end, FinOps at the other. Ideal is most people in the middle. I think, what we're doing at Synyega and also other organizations, helping people see how those two things line up.
Okay, brilliant.
It's key, and it's going to take us all a while. I'm sure when we do this if we come back in like 5 years and do this podcast again, probably still be saying something pretty similar. But it's in my mind, that's where it should go.
So I guess the takeaway from that is that you don't have to wait for that collaboration from the FinOps from an ITAM person. You should go and take it. And I guess that's what Synyega are uniquely doing in the market, because they're so well placed in terms of having those core capabilities in ITAM, FinOps and GreenOps. Is you are making sure and educating your clients and prospective clients of the convergence that can happen between the three. What's the biggest challenge that ITAM, FinOps, GreenOps is facing at the moment, apart from, I guess, the collaboration education piece?
I mean, there are so many, really, which I guess in and of itself is a challenge, that there are loads of challenges. ITAM still got that perennial problem of executive buy-in. It's still a struggle. Something that FinOps has done much better, to be honest, in general. So, ITAM still has that problem. FinOps, has got this, one of the challenges there is still, people thinking that it's all about saving money when it's more about, creating value and building the right culture. And then I think, for people in these areas, it's always changing. So, you used to have SAM and HAM and ITAM, and then we got SaaS, cloud and FinOps and GreenOps. And now we've got AI, which is a challenge for everyone in terms of how do you use it for your job? How do you manage it? So, if you're ITAM, all these new AI tools, products coming in, how do you manage the cost, the data risk, etc.? Similarly for FinOps, a lot of these AI tools sit in the cloud and drive cloud usage. And from a GreenOps perspective, AI is, a real concern. The stat that I've seen a few times is that a search using Gen AI, so, if you ask Copilot or GPT something, it uses about 5 times the amount of power and everything than just asking Google. And I've seen 5. I know I've seen some people say 40, but it's kind of somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
So then, and Microsoft and Amazon and everyone, they're building all these data centers driven by AI usage. So from an organizational perspective, you're using AI, you're doing this, that, and the other. But what's that doing to your carbon metrics and your carbon footprint, sustainability goals?
It is built for efficiency to improve the business functions, but I haven't heard that stat. AI will consume more energy, 5 to 4 times more energy than a single Google search. That's crazy.
Yeah, and also the other one that surprised me that I saw earlier this year is and obviously with all these things it depends kind of exactly how you count things, etc. But that AI, Gen AI is generating more carbon than commercial aviation now. And we all know that flying around the world, everyone knows that that's bad and it generates a lot of carbon. But according to various sources, Gen AI, with the data center building, the energy use, water use, is generating more carbon than flying now.
That's a bit crazy. So with all this AI talk, is that what we could expect in 2025 from Synyega, if you're allowed to talk about it? Because it does seem that you are thinking about it and understanding that the AI has that effect on sustainability.
Yeah, I mean, I think, kind of we'll do what we do, and AI, so from the ITAM side, helping people, optimize their licensing around AI, consolidating, because you'll find a lot of organizations where people are using Copilot and they're paying for ChatGPT and they're paying for this and that. So it's still just pretty regular license optimization, helping people work out how they can incorporate AI into their ITAM practice. Absolutely. FINOPS, like I say, they're services that drive cloud usage, so the same approach applies. And then GreenOps, AI will be a big driver, I think, for interest in that. And we've found the last few events we've been to, GreenOps has been, right up there in terms of what people are interested in, which is, lovely to see. I don't think, and this is me speaking personally, I don't think AI really needs to change anything. It's another, you adapt to it, just like, when SaaS appeared, you had to change some of your policies, your processes, your views slightly, but it still fell within what you were doing. I think AI is similar to that, and I'm personally, and I surprised myself a little bit, but I'm relatively skeptical about AI, certainly at the moment. I think, have you ever seen Gartner have got this hype cycle, and it kind of, you got the peak of inflated expectation, then it goes down into the trough of disillusionment. I think AI is on its way up to the peak of inflated expectations. It does some things well. There's lots of stuff, and I've got a presentation with a bunch of examples of where it's just, not fit for purpose at all.
You can't rely on it yet. I think is, in my opinion, the yet word is definitely the big.
Completely agree, and I think with the Gartner cycle, you come out of the trough of disillusionment into the plateau of something where basically it's found its level. It's not up here, it's not down here, and kind of everyone knows what they're doing with it. You understand its capabilities, and AI will get there, and it will make some things much better. There'll be things that we've all been doing manually that you won't need to do anymore, etc. But I think there's a lot of hope maybe that it will be able to do all these things. You still need to check it, so you might as well do it yourself. But I think there'll be a lot of things where it can do 80% of it, and then the human comes in, verifies, does the final bit, and that will speed things up massively. So yeah, I'm not totally against it. I just think at the minute, Microsoft, Salesforce, everyone is all about co-pilots, all about agents, and I think there is, from a kind of traditional SAM perspective, there's a real push to get customers to buy all these AI services, all these AI tools. They're quite expensive, and I think at the minute it's not 100% clear what the customer benefits will be. And I think we will see, some organisations moving away from AI that they've adopted now over time. But ultimately, it will settle down, and we'll look back, and you'll think, oh yeah, do you remember before AI when we all had to do that ourselves? But it won't.
It does help with the mundane, doesn't it? But quite rightly, as you suggested, it's a case of waiting. Well, rather, we're going through that cycle of AI being implemented into businesses quite widespread. So we'll only find out the costs and the issues, the risks, following the review and the analysis of the environment. So yeah, I guess it's a watch this space with AI, isn't it? Really, but I'm definitely enjoying it. It's helped me out a bit. So with some definitely with writing and doing some research as well. Fantastic for that. So hey, I'm all for it, but of course, using it with an understanding is not necessarily the be all and end all yet. Anyway, yeah.
I think that's the key, that you need to understand its limitations, and use it where it makes sense. It's a tool, and you have to use the right tool for the right job. I think that's probably the most succinct I've managed to say it. But yeah, equally in the 6 months when everything's AI, and where it's either going to be like the Matrix or the Jetsons, and everyone will watch this podcast and go, well, got that wrong, didn't you? So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think use it where it fits.
Fair enough. We'll see certainly some sage advice. So as far as the podcast, we would like to give the listeners a takeaway to walk away from listening. What is there any kind of free products, tools, or sort of any hack tip that you've prepared for the takeaway?
So I decided my answer was going to be more around training than tools specifically. I think there is a phenomenal amount of free training available from FinOps Foundation. Have got some great free courses if you want to get your intro to FinOps, intro to Focus, that kind of thing. But then what I found with a lot of ITAM practitioners, cloud is a whole new world, new terms, new concepts, and that can be difficult. And Microsoft, Amazon, Google have all got free courses. Some of it will be more kind of FinOps related, but a lot of it is around the technologies. So if you're not familiar with virtual machines and containers and even things like cores, processors, RAM, there's a bunch of content out there that can help you get to grips with it. And it won't make you an expert, but it will give you enough information so that when you want to go and talk to your FinOps counterpart or someone in engineering or in the cloud team, you at least know what some of the words mean and you can use the right terms. And I think, whenever it's difficult, the thing that no one's got is enough time. But I think if you can carve out, within your work week, even if it's an hour a week, an opportunity to do a bit of learning, keep up to date on new technologies, etc. I think for me, that is probably what's helped me over the last 20 years, staying curious, keep learning. And then obviously there are always paid courses that go further, but there's quite a lot that you can learn, so you can become knowledgeable enough to be dangerous, in various areas. And so I would say, think about what you would like to know, or go and look at the vendors, talk to partners, tool providers, publishers, see what you can get, and learn as much as you can, and then put it together and help you grow. And that can be just for your personal growth, maybe it's for a promotion, maybe, if you're wanting to move into a different role, etc. I think you can never know too much when it comes to SAM and FinOps.
100% agree. And it's great that you've highlighted, I noted 5 free courses. So free by the FinOps Foundation, free course for the Intro to FinOps, Intro to Focus, as well as free cloud courses on Azure, AWS and Google. It'd be great if you could share the links, Rich, and the listeners would be happy to do that. But yeah, 100% agree. Continual professional development, and when you take away the financial aspect of it, you can of course start. And then if you really like it and you want to learn more, there are other courses out there, and I do believe Synyega do also provide a FinOps course, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so we're a FinOps Foundation certified training provider, so we can do the FinOps practitioner course. We can provide that. I do my Microsoft licensing course as well, and we've got GreenOps training, and there will be some more coming next year as well, hopefully. So yeah, more than happy to help people, and even with the free stuff. Like I said, I'll share the links, but if anyone wants to drop me a line on LinkedIn and ask any questions, always happy to do that.
Awesome, Rich, that's amazing. Thank you so much for that takeaway. And so I'm sure a lot of people will benefit from that. And what's your actual takeaway then? So when you're a little bit busy, or say coming back from traveling around, what's your go-to takeaway when you're feeling a little bit lazy to cook?
It's a difficult question. I love a takeaway. And so when I'm out and about, so I love burgers. Anyone that knows me will know. But I tend to find when you get takeaway burgers, it's not always that good. So burgers, if I'm out and about, I'll get one.
Chips don't travel well, do they?
No. So if it's
French fries for the American listeners,
and I'm ordering something in,
mm-hmm.
It's either pizza, can't go wrong with a good pizza, or chicken boona and chips.
Nice.
That's a long time favourite. See, I think pizza or Indian. But then already I'm thinking about other takeaways and thinking, well, actually, I do quite like this, I do like that. But for the purpose of this, we'll say, we'll go pizza or chicken boona.
Friday lunchtime at the time of recording this, and I might go get a takeaway myself, mate. But absolute pleasure. Brilliant to have you on. Really appreciate that, and I'm sure the listeners as well appreciate your time. Thanks, Rick.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we reached the end, and I really hope you enjoyed that. And if you want any further information about our guests, then their LinkedIn profile and contact information can be found in the episode notes. I do have one more section, which is a request for your involvement. I created this following multiple members of our community suggesting I should do this. And so this is a community-driven platform that is curated to help you. So if you know of any alternative solutions within our industry or related to the ITAM industry, then I want to hear from you. Help me to interview those that you want to learn about. And finally, if there is any feedback, it's welcomed. I want you to help me to improve this podcast. The better this gets, the better the information you'll receive. So help me to ask the questions that are relevant to you, so you get the right answers. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And again, please share with your colleagues and industry peers if you feel it's relevant. Thank you.